Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise to get straight to the insights. Today, we're tackling something, well, it's becoming more urgent, literally by the minute, as AI weaves itself into, everything recommending your next binge watch, shaping critical decisions in healthcare. The real challenge isn't just can AI do this stuff, it's should it? And how? Can we actually build AI with ethics baked right into its core from day one?
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? For too long, I think AI ethics has felt like an add-on, something you bolt on at the end, maybe have a separate team review things after the fact. And that often leads to, well, all sorts of problems, unforeseen biases, systems you can't really understand, and ultimately trust just breaks down when things go wrong. It's a massive challenge. And it's exactly what this fascinating concept we're diving into today, Sophimatics, is trying to address, but from the ground up.
Right. So our mission today is to really unpack how Sophimatics works. It draws on some really groundbreaking work by people like Gerardo and Giovanni Affane, and insights from other researchers, Ijami, Gutenecht, DeFalco, Shang, and it proposes this pretty revolutionary way to make ethical reasoning an intrinsic part of the AI itself. So you're going to hear about these things called ethical watchdogs living inside the AI, how these systems might actually self-correct their own biases, and even how AI could navigate that tricky space between, hard rules and softer, more nuanced judgments. Get ready for some, I hope, serious clarity on what a truly ethical AI could look like. The core idea, embedding ethics from the ground up.
Okay, so usually AI ethics feels like this external checklist, right? Build the thing, then check the ethics box. But you're saying Sophimatics just flips that completely. How does it embed ethics so well deeply?
Yeah, it really turns it on its head. What's truly revolutionary here, I think, is that Sophimatics integrates ethical monitoring, not as some separate process, but as an intrinsic part of every single cognitive module within the AI. Think of it like this. Instead of bolting a moral compass onto the AI afterwards, Sophimatics aims to weave that compass right into the AI's brain cells, if you like, guiding every thought, every decision right from the outset. This approach is heavily inspired by something called the Ethical Artificial Intelligence Framework Theory, or EAIFT. It emphasizes continuous ethical regulation.
Wow. So it's not about applying rules after a decision is made. It's actively shaping the decision-making process itself. That sounds like a huge shift. Proactive ethical design.
Precisely. And that's a stark contrast to a lot of traditional AI frameworks, which tend to compartmentalize ethics, keep it separate from the core computing logic. Sophimatics gets rid of that artificial wall. It fosters a truly unified approach where ethical principles are aligned right with the system's core purpose. And research in this area, like some of the work by Ijami, suggests this methodology significantly cuts down the risk of biases popping up unexpectedly or unintended consequences. It builds accountability right into the system's DNA from day one. Ethics aren't just guardrails anymore. They're kind of the road the AI travels on. 2, real-time ethical guardians, the watchdogs in action.
Okay, that makes sense conceptually.
Right.
But if ethics are baked into every module, how does that actually work in a functioning AI? How does it monitor ethics in real time? Is it like a little ethical alarm bell going off inside?
It's a bit more sophisticated than just an alarm. EAIFT talks about these ethical monitoring agents. We often call them ethical AI watchdogs. And they're placed inside the system itself. Their job is to constantly oversee the real-time decision-making. They're always scanning, looking for any ethical missteps or potential issues as they happen, before they can snowball into bigger problems.
That sounds way more dynamic than just like a static rulebook the AI checks later. So these watchdogs aren't passive, they're active participants.
Not at all passive. Unlike those rigid rules-based methods, these agents operate within a dynamic kind of living environment. They're constantly engaged in these continuous feedback loops. Imagine, say, a financial AI making a loan decision. A traditional system might just crunch the numbers. But a Sophimatics AI with its watchdog is simultaneously asking itself, okay, wait, is this decision accidentally creating bias against a certain group? Am I unintentionally contributing to some kind of ripple effect of disadvantage here? This real-time ethical thinking and adaptation, it's crucial for keeping the system valid. And as Jamie's work points out, it's key for building that long-term user trust. People can see it's trying to do the right thing.
AI that finds and fixes its own biases.
That's fascinating. But okay, if these watchdogs spot an ethical problem, can the system actually fix it?
Yeah.
Or does it just throw up a flag for a human to come in and sort it out? I mean, how much power does the AI actually have to correct its own ethical mistakes?
Well, this is where Sophimatics takes another really significant leap. It doesn't just flag. It includes these quite sophisticated bias detection mechanisms that not only spot the biases, but actually correct them in the system's operational logic. And this happens as an inherent ongoing part of its processes. It's what we call self-bias removal. And that's a potential game changer.
That sounds incredible. And AI finding and fixing its own ethical blind spots, maybe without constant human tweaking.
Yeah.
How do we actually make sure it fixes a bias correctly? Is there a risk it could introduce a new bias or optimize for something it thinks is ethical but doesn't quite align with our complex, evolving human values?
That's a really critical question, and it definitely speaks to the level of sophistication needed here. The idea is that this continuous monitoring and self-correction significantly improves key things: fairness, impartiality, transparency, interpretability, and just the general explainability of its decisions. The system isn't just patching a bug. Ideally, it's refining its ethical understanding. In critical areas like healthcare, maybe diagnosing a patient, or finance, making trading decisions, the consequences of ethical errors are huge, right? So this enhanced interpretability becomes paramount. It helps build user trust directly. Empirical studies, like those reported by Edjami, show this because the system can actually demonstrate why it made a choice and maybe even show how it corrected itself if bias was detected. It's about building trust by showing its ethical homework, even in really sensitive spots. 4. The thinking behind the ethics. Hybrid models for nuanced judgment. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, how does an AI system actually reason ethically, beyond just spotting bias? This brings up a really important question. How do you teach an AI to get both the clear-cut rules and the messy, sometimes contradictory nuances of human values?
All right, let's dive into that. Sophimatics uses something called hybrid symbolic-connectionist models. That sounds technical, but what does it actually mean for how the AI thinks ethically? How does it handle those complex, maybe gray area situations you mentioned?
Okay, so these hybrid models are really fundamental to how Sophimatics approaches ethical reasoning. They cleverly combine two different kinds of intelligence. On one hand, you have symbolic, rule-based reasoning. That's great for handling the hard rules, explicit laws, strict regulations, maybe clear ethical codes like do no harm, the straightforward stuff. But then it integrates neural network adaptation, and that allows for what we call soft judgments. These are the more nuanced ethical inferences. Things like recognizing subtle personal bias in a decision, or making calls by considering the specific context, the environment, even social or cultural values. Thinkers like Gutknecht, who explored this area, explained that this hybrid approach helps cognitive systems sort of smoothly shift gears. They can move between that intuitive, almost instant pattern-based reasoning and the more considered, culturally informed, long-term thinking.
Okay. So it's not just rigidly following a code, it's learning to interpret the spirit of the law, maybe. Adapting to context. Understanding the intent. That sounds incredibly complex. How does it bridge that gap between a black and white rule and all the shades of gray in human intent?
Exactly. That dual structure is what allows these systems to, as Gutknecht put it, grasp the rules for using rules. It leads to a much more balanced, comprehensive ethical understanding. He highlighted how this method balances what he called animalistic cognition, those immediate gut reactions, to patterns with cultural cognition, which is more about rational thought, understanding norms, foresight. Systems using only one method are limited, right? But by integrating both into this artificial cognition, you amplify the benefits of each. This leads to much more transparent ethical reasoning and, crucially, greater accountability. It's moving beyond just rules to something more like ethical wisdom, an AI that can follow the letter and understand the spirit. V, continuous learning and self-evaluation. AI that knows its own blind spots.
Okay, but the world keeps changing. New ethical challenges pop up all the time. How does an AI system keep its ethical compass, calibrated? Do humans still need to constantly feed it updates? Or can it actually adapt on its own?
This is another area where Sophimatics aims to take a leap by supporting self-evaluation mechanisms. These are designed specifically to help the system uncover its own hidden cognitive biases or blind spots. DeFalco and colleagues describe how these mechanisms are really vital for enhancing resilience, preventing ethical slip-ups, and enabling adaptive experimentation within the AI itself. It allows the AI to sort of grow its ethical understanding over time.
Can you give us an example? How does that work in practice? How does an AI discover its own blind spot?
Sure. Imagine an AI involved in, say, urban planning. It might be optimizing traffic flow really well, but in doing so, maybe it unintentionally proposes a solution that puts a disproportionate burden on certain neighborhoods or creates new accessibility problems. That's its near miss. It recognizes it's about to collide with an ethical risk or conflict. At that point, the system doesn't just halt. It actively evaluates what happened, why it happened, and corrects that operation. It then uses that experience as continuous feedback for itself. It's a bit like how humans use metacognition when we reason thinking about our own thinking. This lets the AI effectively review its own work, constantly learning and patching up blind spots before they cause real harm. It enhances accountability.
So it literally learns from its almost mistakes, building an ethical understanding through experience. That's incredible. It's almost like teaching a kid not just what to do, but why, and then giving them the tools to reflect on their own choices.
Exactly. And as the Falco explains, while human guidance is still key setting initial parameters, providing oversight, the AI itself becomes truly dynamic. It's designed to be always in learning, continually evolving as social values shift, as societal needs change, as the environment changes. This continuous reflection helps it make more contextually rich decisions, ultimately leading to, well, profoundly enhanced ethical capabilities and trustworthiness. It becomes a kind of symbiotic learning relationship between us and the AI, transparency and trust, explaining the ethical why.
So let's bring this back to the user. What does all this mean for you interacting with these powerful AI systems? If an AI can think ethically, self-correct, learn, does that automatically make it more trustworthy? And maybe more importantly, how would I as a user even see this ethical reasoning? How do I know it's happening?
That's a crucial point. User trust is, well, it's everything in AI deployment, isn't it? Sophimatics tackles this head-on by significantly boosting transparency in the ethical reasoning process. Agent Omni strongly argues this transparency is absolutely critical, especially in sensitive fields. Think finance, healthcare, places where ethical mistakes or system failures could have really severe negative consequences for people in society. It's not enough for the AI to be ethical. It needs to be visibly ethical.
Okay, but how does it actually show its work? Is it going to spit out a complex philosophical argument every time it makes a call? Or is there a more intuitive way for me to understand its moral compass?
Not a treatise, hopefully. The idea is through embedded dialogic modules and explainable reasoning processes. Sophimatics aims to enhance AI accountability and reliability this way. It means having actionability of explanations, you can actually see what's going on, and solid auditability of the reasoning and the decision. The big goal is for users like you to understand not just what an AI system does, but critically, why it made a specific choice. That's how you actively build trust. Maybe imagine an interface where, if you ask, it shows a simplified flowchart of the ethical points it considered. And researchers like Zhang are looking at this too. By embedding ethical intentions right into the system's reasoning, using hybrid techniques like chain of thought or trees of thought, Sophimatics-based AI could explicitly lay out the step-by-step process it followed when facing an ethical dilemma. Think of it like a detective explaining every clue in their chain of thought or mapping out possibilities in a tree of thought. This means you could potentially trace exactly how the AI reached an ethical decision step by step, making its moral compass visible and understandable. Outro.
So today, we've really unpacked Sophimatics. It's a framework that envisions AI not just as this incredibly powerful tool, but as a potentially accountable, ethically integrated partner. One capable of real-time ethical thinking, some pretty amazing self-correction, and crucially, explaining its moral compass to us. It's a powerful vision, really, for the future of AI, moving us from AI that can do things to AI that should do things with integrity built right in.
And that really leaves us with a profound thought, doesn't it, for all of us? Given these advancements, this idea of embedding ethics right into the AI's core, how might our own understanding of accountability need to shift? Especially as we interact with machines that are increasingly sophisticated, that reason ethically, what new questions do we need to start asking ourselves about intelligence, about responsibility? Not just for the AI, but maybe for ourselves too, as the creators and users navigating this rapidly changing world.